46. Spring quarter begins. The school campus explodes with flowers and greenery. Cherry blossoms and purple jacaranda cover the walkways like confetti. The bright pink bougainvillea flowers, with their papery petals, crawl over the concrete walls. In the near distance, the hillsides are encased in yellow, the mustard plants growing so densely that they tangle into each other. In between classes, students lay out blankets on the grass in the quad and take naps stretched out in the sunshine. The atmosphere has loosened, becoming much less rigid now that we are in the last stretch before summer break. Most days Alexis and I lie out there too, inches apart, our legs resting against each other. We read and do homework together, our heads bent over our textbooks. During breaks, Alexis makes bouquets from the dandelions that have sprouted seemingly overnight, the bright green grass dotted with their yellow crowns. "Pretty flowers for a pretty girl," she says, each time proffering them to me. I laugh. This afternoon, while we are out on the lawn, Alexis seems preoccupied. She doesn't take a single glance toward the dandelions, she doesn't talk, she sits there flipping through her book aimlessly. I wait for her to speak. She doesn't. "What's wrong?" I finally ask. "They're saying someone was robbed and killed by my apartment the other night," Alexis says in a hushed voice. "It was someone who lived in my building. I recognize his picture on the news. I've seen him before around. He was always nice to me." She presses her lips together before looking away. "You knew him?" I sit up, startled. "Not really. We said hi whenever we saw each other, and once we had a chat about his dog. But it's shocking, nonetheless. It feels too close to home." I bite my lip. Above our heads there's a lone bird flying across the sky. I search for the right thing to say to Alexis, but I can't seem to figure it out. "That's terrifying. I can't imagine how you're feeling right now." "I'm scared," she says miserably. "It's awful. Last night I had a nightmare where I was being chased by a knife-wielding psycho." She doesn't know it, but she's talking about me. I fight the urge to laugh. It brings me back to that night, to the triumph I felt once the alcohol began to dissipate from my system. As I hunched over the sprinklers outside of our apartment complex waiting for the icy water to wash away the blood, I had the sense that I was dreaming. The scene replayed in my head again and again until I fell to my knees, my wet clothes clinging to my skin. The thud of skull meeting brick, the slickness of blood in my hands. Alexis is still talking, unaware that I am in another world, another universe. "Jiwon, what are you even thinking about?" I shake my head. "Nothing. Sorry. I asked you if we should get pepper spray. What do you think? I mean, the killer could be anybody. He could even be sitting out here with us right now." She squints at the group of people closest to us. "That guy looks weird. Maybe it's him." "You don't need the pepper spray," I tell her. There's an ant crawling on our blanket. I watch as it makes its way up on the edge of my shoe before stopping at my sock. Without thinking, I reach out and crush it between my thumb and index finger. "You don't have anything to worry about." At home, I find that George has returned from his trip. Amma, who left work early to pick him up from the airport, is there too, along with Ji-yoon. The three of them are crammed side by side on the sofa and watching the news, the sound turned up so high that I can hear it before I open the door. They are so transfixed by the screen that they don't look up at me when I walk inside. I wave my hand in front of Ji-yoon's face, but she slaps it out of the way. Oh, what the hell? Move, Unni. I can't see the TV. I plop down on the floor in front of them. What are you guys watching anyway? Ji-yoon shushes me. They're saying two people got killed near your school. My stomach lurches. I put one hand on the coffee table to steady myself and turn to look at her. What? Shut up and listen. The newscaster on the TV is a dark-haired woman with bright lipstick. Her mouth is moving, but the blood is pounding so hotly in my ears that I can't hear what she's saying. Authorities are urging individuals with any relevant information to step forward. In the meantime, I hope you and your families stay safe and well. The woman fades out and an advertisement for a cleaning spray appears. George grabs the remote control and mutes the audio. That's so crazy, Ji-yoon says. What were they saying? I ask her, trying not to seem too on edge. I missed most of it. A student and a homeless man were killed within a mile of your school campus. They're saying that the two murders are probably related and that people should exercise caution. And something about an investigation and increasing police presence nearby, she says. Maybe I'm just paranoid, but the way she's staring at me feels accusatory. I twist away from her, my throat constricting. My stomach hurts. I swallow the bile that rises in my throat. You should be careful, Oma says. Even though she's talking to me, her eyes never leave George's face. Her hand is wedged behind his back as though she is afraid he will disappear. She keeps glancing at his suitcases stacked by the door, but George is untethered from us, his face dreamy. I brought presents, he says after a pause. He looks at me pointedly out of the corner of his eyes. That is, if JW will bother saying hello to me. Oma ignores the latter part of his statement, squealing and clapping her hands together in excitement. For her, gifts are a harbinger of good news. They mean something. They cost money, and money isn't easy to come by. Hi, I say, through gritted teeth. George sneers, but he goes to his suitcase, hauling it over to the sofa. It knocks against my feet. I glare at him. He unzips the suitcase in one swift motion. I peer over, looking at his clothes. There's a pile of soiled undershirts and dirty socks and dingy, discolored white cotton briefs. Gross. I start to turn my head, but as I do, I spot the corner of a shiny, square-shaped wrapper. I could recognize it anywhere. It is, without a shred of a doubt, a condom. Before anyone else can see it, I grab it and tuck it into my pocket. I don't need Oma to see that. Not now, not like this. For my mother, George has brought a ceramic flower. When he hands it to her, she holds it up to the light, giggling like a schoolgirl, admiring it at every angle. In all honesty, it's a stupid, thoughtless gift, not even specific to Thailand in any way. I've seen the street vendors downtown selling this exact replica. Nevertheless, my mother smiles. her face eclipsed with happiness. Her expression makes my heart ache. I stick the sharp edge of the condom wrapper deep into my nail bed. The pain brings me back. It reminds me of the work I have left to do. In the middle of the night, I wake up in the kitchen, cold air blasting against my face. The refrigerator door is open, light pouring out. I squint against it, bewildered, only to realize that I'm clutching a hard boiled egg in my hand. My mouth is full of yolk. I spit and stutter, bits of yellow raining down on the floor. The sulphurous odor is pungent. I rinse my mouth out over the sink before making my way over to Amma's room. George and my mother are sleeping deeply. Amma is still, but with every breath, George hacks and coughs. I'll watch as the life seeps out of him. His face will turn blue. The scene gives me so much pleasure that for a moment I run my hands over the blankets. Soon. 47. Months ago, when he first moved in with us, George let us try on the Rolex. He told us it was quote unquote the most expensive kind, and that it was passed down to him from his father after his passing 5 years ago. It was the only time he ever mentioned his father. Even then I thought it was beautiful. There were diamonds embedded on its mother of pearl face, and the entire thing glittered like a giant jewel. I had never held anything so valuable in my hands, and when George let Ji-yoon and me clasp it onto our own two small wrists, I knew what would come of it. "If I ever lost this, I would die," George said, removing it carefully from my wrist. He put it back in its dark green, leather-clad box in Amma's dresser. "That's my most prized possession. Plus, my father would probably come down and haunt me if anything happened to it. He loved it more than he loved me." He said it as though it was a joke, though he didn't smile. I saw right through him. "It doesn't surprise me that your father loved the watch more than he loved you, George. You're greedy, selfish, unlovable. You pretend like you care about your father, but you don't. You only care about what he left for you, or in this case, what he didn't leave behind. How many times have you complained about the house you didn't get, your meager inheritance? You don't even have a single picture of him." Tonight I channel the ghost of George's father, because I'm certain he will approve of what I'm doing, punishing his son in ways he couldn't while he was still alive. I imagine him hovering over my shoulder, observing silently as I hold the heavy watch, the metal links cold in my hand. By 3 a.m., I'm outside the apartment, standing next to George's truck. In the moonlight, the watch is stunning. I admire its shine and the hands that move across the face. Everything is precise, perfect. It's a pity I have to destroy something so beautiful, but the ends justify the means. In the morning, George rushes out without a goodbye, a blue silk tie clutched in his hand. He has forgotten his watch, which he often does when he has meetings with clients. I wait, unable to hide my restlessness. Ji-yoon smacks me as she leaves to go to school. "Stop fidgeting," she orders. "Brat," I retort. As soon as she's gone, George storms through the door, blood dripping from his fingers. In his shaking fist, are the remaining fragments of his watch. My Rolex, he moans. My Rolex. Oma runs out from her room. What's going on? My father's watch. It's completely fucked. He opens his hand and lets it fall to the floor. Shards of glass spray over our feet. George slides down next to it, his head buried in his hands. When he looks up, there's a smear of blood across his forehead. Oma crouches next to him and puts her hand on his back. She murmurs something into his ear and he wrenches away from her. I know that feeling of despair. It's how I felt the day my father left. Through his fingers I see his tear-stained cheeks. He's trying to hide the fact that he is crying. I must have dropped it while getting out of the car, George babbles. What's wrong with me? What's happening to me? He digs his fingernails into his face, leaving a trail of crescent moons dotted across his cheeks. The tears in his eyes amplify their color. I'm doing my best to hide my excitement, but I'm quivering. Hope is a terrible thing. Hope is my mother waiting by the front door for months. Hope is a table full of banchan, side dishes, carefully prepared by hand. Hope is my sister curled in my arms, her head resting against my shoulder, asking, do you think he'll come back? But hope is also George, crawling on the floor, collecting pieces of glass so small they are nearly invisible. For the next few weeks, George is despondent. He doesn't shower, stinking up our living room, a cloud of putrescence following behind him. He doesn't eat, not even when Oma buys and makes his favorite foods, cheese sandwiches, bacon and macaroni. It feels like I've lost him all over again, he says, glumly. It's a rare show of vulnerability coming from him. And he keeps coming to me in my dreams. Last night, I was in my childhood home looking at an old picture of my father. He had just died, and I was crying. But then the image came alive, and he came through it, his mouth wide open, irate, the skin peeling from his face. He grabbed me and shook me, and then George shivers. I realized it wasn't a photo of him, it was a photo of me. We are silent. We are not used to seeing him this way. Oma clears her throat, clearly at a loss for words, moving away from the table. George stares at her for a long time before getting up and retreating to the bedroom. Is this what it takes to make our fathers return to us? 48. In late spring, just a few weeks after the incident with the watch, I spot George's truck zipping through traffic. He's driving fast, much faster than his normal pace. His urgency piques my interest. Without thinking, I follow him, my foot stomping on the gas pedal. We weave through Koreatown, through downtown LA. George is on his phone the entire time. I follow him to a strip mall in the Arts District, where he parks his car on the street and disappears into a small, nondescript coffee shop. I park next to a meter on the street and wait for him to come back out. He emerges a few minutes later, but he's not alone. There's a woman with him, a petite, fair-skinned Asian woman with long dark hair that's parted in the middle. She's wearing a floral sundress and they're holding hands and laughing. I recognize her instantly. I duck down in my seat as they cross the street, looking up just in time to see George reach over and tuck a strand of her hair behind her ear. I roll down the window to listen to them talk. "I'm so glad you called me," George says. "I missed you. The apartment has been so lonely without you there. I know you're traveling a lot for work, but still, don't you think it's a bit much?" She speaks with a slight accent. Her voice is as lovely as her face. They walk to George's car. He opens the door for her and helps her up into the truck. And when they drive away, I follow behind them. At the at the stoplight, they lean into each other and kiss. This morning he kissed Oma the exact same way, and just hours ago his arms were around my mother's waist as he filled her ears with empty promises. I follow them to a towering luxury apartment building in the center of downtown. It's Jen's apartment. George floats from place to place, preying on Asian women. He slithers into their hearts and their beds. He takes over their homes. He eats their food. He takes and takes and takes. Jen is nothing but a pawn in George's game, just like Uma. I've missed one class already, and even though I can probably make it back in time for the second one, I'm too frenzied to do anything but return home. I rush back to our apartment to sit and collect my thoughts, but when I open the front door, Ji-yoon is sitting on the couch in front of the TV in her pajamas, an open pack of cookies in her lap. Her mouth drops open. "What are you doing here?" I ask. "I I'm not feeling well," she stammers. "You're not?" I put my hand on her forehead. "You feel fine to me." "It's my stomach." She doesn't appear to be sick at all. I squint at her, the realization dawning on me. "Did you ditch school?" "No, I didn't." "What the hell, Ji-yoon? You know how important it is to have a good education. How many times did Appa—" At the mention of our father she bursts into tears. "I don't want to hear about Appa. I'm sick and tired of hearing about him." She runs past me into our room, slamming the door. I wait a beat before following her. She's buried under blankets in our bed like a mole, the tip of her nose poking out. She's sobbing. "Ji-yoon, what's wrong?" "Everything," she says. "Everything is wrong." "Don't be so dramatic. Talk to me." My sister sniffles loudly. "Nobody cares about me. Nobody cares about what I want, or what I'm thinking about, or—" "I care," I say, interrupting her. "I care a lot. You know I do. Why would you say such a thing?" "It doesn't feel that way anymore." When we were younger, Ji-yoon and I used to play a game that we dubbed Genie. We would take turns being the genie and granting the others' wishes. Of course, we didn't have the means to grant any wishes. Most of them were impossible anyway. Ji-yoon would wish for puppies and kittens, and once a Nintendo Wii. I wished for mountains of money and my own room. It gave us comfort to speak our wants and desires out loud in the hope that somewhere a benevolent God was listening. Maybe someday those things would come true. I take Ji-yoon's hand and squeeze it. "I am Genie," I say. The covers lower an inch, and Ji-yoon peeks at me, teardrops clinging to her eyelashes like morning dew. "I can grant you Whatever your heart desires. What is your wish? She doesn't hesitate. I wish Oma and George wouldn't get married, she says. Your wish is my command. 49. Since George's return from Thailand, he has been feverishly preparing for a presentation with a major client. As a result, he has spent an exorbitant amount of time away from us and the apartment. On most evenings, his place at the dinner table is empty. His apartment, too, has been miraculously fixed, and he has been working late hours. I need to stay at my apartment for a few days, he tells my mother. Just for a short while. I'm so busy, and this is my biggest client. It's too hard to focus with JW and JH running around all the time. You fucking creep. I've seen everything. Your dating app profile, the images you have saved. I stare at him, at his eyes, envisioning his head split open on the concrete, blood pooling underneath. My mother has completely thrown herself into planning the wedding. She seems apprehensive about George's sudden turn in energy and affection, checking her phone every few minutes and glancing surreptitiously at the door. Every night while George is away, Oma folds flowers. Sometimes she recruits Jiyun and me to help. The three of us sit silently, twisting chicken wire and tissue paper into shapes resembling petals, until our fingers bleed. I find myself wondering whether the wedding was ever going to happen, or if it was just a cruel joke all along. The night before his presentation, George stays at our apartment, saying he needs one Oma cooked meal to bring him luck. My mother stands at the stove all afternoon making sulung tang, a milky and rich ox bone soup, jang jorim, soy braised beef, and ka gi, cubed radish kimchi. There's also a whole fried mackerel, its eyes removed in advance. For George, Uma says, bringing them out to him on a plate. The food is delicious, but we barely get to have any because George shovels half the family's dinner into his mouth while laughing. Flecks of meat fly out from between his lips, splattering on the table. I watch his teeth as they crunch down on the fish eyes. He acts perfectly normal, like nothing is wrong. Once everyone retires for the night, I creep out into the living room where George keeps his laptop and a thick manila envelope stuffed with notes and printed copies of his presentation. Accessing his laptop, I look through his PowerPoint and delete it, then create a new one with the same name. The clock ticks over my head as I work, and when I'm done, I turn my attention to the envelope. I spread the pages out. They blur in front of me in the darkness. Each one needs to be replaced. I work quietly, my fingers practiced and sure. Afterward, I stuff everything back inside and close the metal tab securely. 50. In the morning, George leaves with a greasy piece of bacon between his fingers. I'm going to close this deal, he shouts over his shoulder. And when I do, we are going to celebrate. I go to my first class with the intention of returning early. I hurry past Geoffrey, who stands at the door waiting for me, muttering a quick hey out of the side of my mouth. I purposely choose a middle seat between two other students. In my peripheral vision, I see him walk to an empty row in the back, looking dejected. When we are dismissed, I collect my belongings and speed walk out, Geoffrey hot on my heels. He stops me. "Jiwon," he starts, but I shake my head. "Sorry, I've to run. I have to make it to an appointment." I want to be there for the show. I return to the apartment and unlace my shoes just as George barrels through the door. His nostrils are flared, and streaks of red have appeared across his neck. Before saying anything to me, he knocks the teetering boxes of paper flowers and wedding decorations to the ground. "Hey!" I shout. "What the hell do you think you're doing? Oma worked hard on those." "I don't care." He swipes at my mother's wedding dress, sending it flying. I bend over to pick it up, but he pushes me to the ground, towering over me, the crumpled envelope tight in his hand. He shoves it in my face. "Who did this? Did you do this, you fucking bitch?" A spray of saliva coats my cheek. I wipe it with my sleeve. "I don't know what you're talking about," I say. My heartbeat is a staccato in my chest, but I keep my face neutral. "Bullshit! Bull fucking shit!" "Why are you yelling? You're acting crazy. Did something happen at work?" He tears open the envelope. "Look at this!" He pulls out page after page, throwing them in the air. They float down like snowflakes. I catch glimpses of the images as they fall. The complicated graphics and charts that George has been working on have been replaced with erotic photographs of young Asian women. They are completely nude and in lewd poses. The pictures become more and more graphic as he goes through the pile. "What the heck? You're disgusting," I say, bending over to pick up one of the papers. On it, there's a girl who looks to be about Ji-yoon's age. Her hair has been tied back into pigtails, and she's wearing a black bra and panties, a lollipop in her mouth. "I didn't do this." "I don't understand. Who would do such a terrible thing?" "You tell me. Was it your mother? Tell me the goddamn truth." "What? Why would Amma do this? That doesn't make any sense. She adores you. You know that. She would never do anything to hurt you." "Then it's that little bitch, JH, your sister. Did she do this?" "Jiyoon would never. She may get mad, but she knows better. Besides, what would be her motive?" "Because she's fucking trying to get rid of me," George snarls. "She hates me." "Whoa," I raise my hands. "Slow down. How would this get rid of you? If anything, wouldn't you stay longer if you lose your job? Anyway, she doesn't hate you. She just doesn't like you." This answer doesn't satisfy him. He grabs the stack and throws it against the wall. It explodes, bits of paper floating around us, a tornado of porn. He stands rigidly in the middle of the room, his jaw clenched. "Think about it. Why would any of us want to mess with your stuff? It doesn't make sense." "Was it only this, or your actual presentation as well?" "My actual presentation," George says. "How would any of us get into your computer? Isn't it password protected? I mean, only someone from your work could have access to it, right?" I see the cogs of his puny little brain working. My boss, he says slowly. That fucking bastard has been trying to get rid of me for ages. His anger has been replaced by uncertainty, and he stands there, swaying. I smile inwardly. It has to be him. Nobody else could have done it, right? There's nobody else. He slumps against the table. As if on cue, George's phone rings. He holds it away from his body like it's a bomb. My boss. He shudders. What do I say? What do I do? I don't have any proof. No, don't accuse him. Not now. Listen to what he has to say. He answers. I watch as his expression flits from anger to sadness to despair. George's boss is yelling loudly, and I can hear every exquisite word. When he hangs up, George stares at the phone blankly. I've been fired. His eyes find mine. They are unfocused, the light in them dim. I hold my breath. The room is too warm. We are too close. The papers are scattered all around us. The temptation grows, but I force myself to look at the mess. We should clean this up. I bend down and begin picking the papers up one by one, letting the fog clear in my head. There are so many pictures, maybe over 100. It takes us a while to find them, especially the ones that have slipped under the couch. George takes each one wordlessly and dumps it in the trash. I pile garbage on top so neither Ji-yoon nor Amma will see them. Afterward, he sits on the couch, his mouth slack, a blank expression on his face. It's the kind of look Appa had right before he left.